My name is Misha Wingle, and my soul's purpose is to heal the planet, moving forward the planet, healing myself and others mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And each Wednesday, I share simple shifts in thinking, feeling, and behaving, hoping to create some aha moments in your life. Aha moments are one of my favorite things in the world. And this month, we're going to focus on the physical body. The physical body is form. It's what we see. It's the cells and the systems that make up our tangible body, and it experiences the physical world. The sensations of the body are communicating the state of our spiritual, emotional, and mental bodies. Our physical body is good. And each month I'm going to review a movie that focuses on one of the four bodies. And so today there's an Amazon original movie called Brittany Runs a Marathon. And this is a spoiler alert. I will talk about parts of the movie that are critical to the plot line. So if you would rather pause here until you watch the movie, then this is where you're going to want to do it. But Brittany is an almost 30 single woman living in New York City, and we learn later that she's moved there because she had a great opportunity in advertising, which was a dream of hers. And then she tells us it took a slight detour. In her British facade voice, she hides behind often in the movie. I think this part of Brittany is like so many of us. We have wishes and goals, and when they start to become to fruition, we detour. And Brittany's story is begging us to ask why we do that. Why is it scary? And it's easy to see the why in Brittany's life, but we need to put ourselves in her shoes and feel into our own story. And that's what a good movie is all about. When we have to take a detour, it is because some things are in need of repair. The physical body is the communicator for the other bodies. So when we don't like the messages we are getting or we don't want to see them, we can distract the body with like stuff so we don't have to look or do the repair work. Repair work means confronting untrue thoughts. Seeing our wrong thinking feels scary, and that's hard. Repair work means feeling the real emotions that are going on and letting the depleting ones move through us and move us toward healing. Repair work means stepping into our true worth, claiming it, instead of waiting for invitation. Repairing can feel like a huge, unachievable goal that is much like running a marathon, and just like running a marathon, it will take small steps over time to achieve it, and that's not only okay, that's the point. The movie has a great opening, and it begins with a 12:37 p.m. alarm going off and Brittany needing to run off to work, and she's still late as usual. And she shouts as she gets to the subway, she shouts for somebody to hold the doors so she can get in, and no one does. She's invisible when she doesn't want to be. At work, her boss confronts her about being late, and she makes jokes and distracts and detours her way out of the uncomfortable situation, this time trying to be invisible. Physically, Brittany is not invisible. She is 50 to 60 pounds overweight. She drinks a lot and becomes loud. Her diet is large, consisting of unhealthy foods. She is seen as an object for sexual gratification, not as a person of relationship. And she admits being in a large amount of debt. All of this toxicity attracts toxic relationships that focus on other people's needs, keeping her own needs invisible. Being invisible is how she is able to cope, but it is also the cause of much of her pain, because what Brittany really needs is healing or repair work. The movie does a great job at showing that Brittany is actually a light person, meaning full of light. Her clothes and style are young and colorful and bright, and the actress Jillian Bell is fabulous at using body language and facial expressions to convey the thoughts and emotions we would feel in her situation. In the beginning of the show, you see a lot of heads down and furrowed eyebrows, in pain. She's clearly in emotional and mental pain as her repair work happens through the movie. Then she starts to have a lot of deer in the headlight moments. And it's fascinating as she's trying to detour away from those moments, but doesn't. At a doctor's appointment where she is trying to pass for someone with ADHD and to obtain some drugs for recreation, the doctor tells her straight, she is overweight. Her physical body is sending the message that things are not okay. And this would be my only criticism of the movie. I'm not convinced this moment would have been a big enough impact for me. We've all had those moments where the doctor wanted us to look and be better. The movie is based on a true story though, and the real Brittany says she was having an existential crisis. Her work wasn't leading anywhere. The long nights of drinking were wearing on her, and she didn't like what she looked like in the mirror, the body that she saw. And she knew she needed to change. So Brittany decides to run, and it's the only exercise she can afford. So she meets up with this group of runners and somehow convinces them that they want to train for the New York City Marathon the next year. And this goal just lights a fire under her, and training for the marathon gives her purpose and helps to make decisions about food and sleep easier. So at this point in the film, Brittany runs to catch the subway and someone sees her. They hold the door for her. And as she is looking at herself and as she's beginning to look at herself, others are seeing her too. And that's the message of this scene. Brittany does all the work of the physical body to run the marathon. She eats right. She trains, but it wasn't enough. Her emotional body needed to allow grief, anger, and apathy to exist first and then release. Her spiritual body needed to learn to receive help and love. Her mental body needed to confront beliefs like, I am not enough. I have to be funny because I am fat. My life is harder than others. I have to be thin in order to be loved. Or I have to be thin in order to be attractive. These feel like truths when they're really not. It is at the high point of her training she hits a wall, and we've all been there. She broke, literally. Her right leg gets a stress fracture, and her ability to run the marathon is shattered. Back at the doctor's office, the doctor gives one of the best lines of the movie. He says, Brittany, you have to pay attention to your pain. She had injured herself and kept pushing through, doing real damage. And don't we do that all the time mentally and emotionally? I talked before on other lives about the ACE score, or the adverse childhood experiences, and their direct effect on health and adulthood. The study actually came because of an obesity study for women. And in the study, they were helping women lose weight, and time again, the weight would come back. And so they couldn't figure this out. They wanted to really understand why from a scientific perspective. And so they begin to ask questions. And the ones struggling to keep the weight off happened to be, I think, more than 80% of them had been sexually abused or traumatized as a child. And this is when the doctors began to understand that trauma of all kinds change the body. If you look at Brittany's broken leg energetically, you can see that it was her right leg that stress fractured. And her mom was left when she was young, and then her dad died soon after. And her love for her father is hinted at in the film, that he was really important to her. And the right side of the body symbolizes the male energy. And it's like the pain of mom leaving was compounded with the death of her father. It was this extra twist of the knife that created the need for some detouring. It was just too much. And we've all had those life stresses that are just too much. The legs and feet are all about moving forward, and her body said, no, there is work to be done. We are not moving forward until all the bodies get support. And that happens so many times in our lives. One of the big shifts for Brittany came when she's back in Philly living in her sister's basement apartment, and it's marathon day. She's supposed to be running, but she's not. And it's a party for her brother-in-law. And some friends come over, and one of the couples just happens to be a curvy woman and a thin man. And this confronts one of her core beliefs, that she must be thin to be attracted and loved. And like many of us, when our beliefs get a knock in the head, she lashes out with anger and resentment. That's kind of what we do. The woman, Jasmine, teaches her a huge lesson. She explains, and these are my words, not hers. She knows that she isn't thin, and she understands Brittany's pain about being overweight. But she chose to do the emotional, mental, and spiritual repair instead of the physical repair. And it worked for her. Because her ultimate goal was to be happy. It wasn't to be thin. And happiness is not directly tied to size. It's really, 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 really not. So in the movie, how does Brittany heal? This is a big moment for her. Physically, she wears a supportive boot so her stress fracture can mend. She does the medical treatment necessary. One really quick scene says a lot about her physical healing. When her boyfriend/friend boy touches her, he kind of reaches out and touches her hand in a certain way. She recognizes her reaction. It's a big moment, tiny but big. And she feels into the discomfort of that moment, and she makes a choice that this discomfort is calling out for her. In this case, knowing that her tendency is to put others first, and knowing she is not quite strong enough to test that stress point, she sets a boundary. And it is because it comes from within her in a balanced place, he wants to honor it. So she can't be the girlfriend right now. Healing spiritually, she makes amends where she needs to. She learns to serve others and feel empathy for others. Brittany allows others to support her. She lets the support carry her when she feels like she can no longer go on, a very important part of the spiritual body. Healing mentally called for her to see her thoughts and false beliefs. She needed to untangle her thinking from others' thinking, and we see where she's been assuming thoughts in others that really weren't there. We do this all the time. And Brittany trained emotionally. We are not meant to never have draining emotions. These serve a purpose, and we are not meant to run everywhere. But if we are going to run a marathon, we need to train the body. Even if we jog every day, a marathon requires a certain amount of training. Our emotions are the same. We are not meant to only feel happy and joy. But if we want to feel like we live a happy and joy-filled life, we need to practice. We need to pay attention to our emotions and see if they require action or if we simply need to let them go. It is at this point in the film that Brittany on the subway holds the door for someone else, and her smile lets us know that it feels really, really good. This is an adult film. It's not necessarily made for kids, so I'll just say that out loud. So there's some language, but a fascinating look at all the bodies put together and how the physical body isn't always the answer to everything. The physical body, the physical experience isn't always the answer to everybody. I'm wearing a shirt that you'll see her wearing in the movie. I did that on purpose. So see the movie. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. And just shout out to the nation, United States of America. Today, let's start anew. See you next time.